Who would consider themselves, like myself, not to be part of the art world, but someone who's interested, of course, another
I did not have documentation to show I could make large-scale sculptures. So then I came up with the idea to go into the mountains, making photos as if these are very big sculptures. But while working there, I enjoyed working with this geometry in contrast to nature, and that brought me probably the first time to really start thinking about perception, and that led to demonstrate what I did in the mountains. I put these white blocks in the middle of the gallery space and put some rocks around them, and it looked actually quite nice. And a senior Dutch artist, Joost Ballieu, came in, and it was a big honor for me that he came to see my show, and he said, "Why do you add the stones? Because geometry itself is already nature." And that was one of the first wake-up calls after reading about the stuff in the 20s, say the Bauhaus times and so on, which is currently much in the news. In Russia you had also the same kind of school, the Kutemas, and you had in Poland and in Hungary and in Italy and in Holland you had all groups. In Holland you had Mondrian and Van Doesburg, and they published the magazine The Style. And then I just
put this in context again. You were 31 or something. And I mean, I think that's also... from my experience, you know, someone at that age really, you know, we talk about disruption in the economy these days. I mean, that's really, at 30, making those sort of foundations and investing and having that view. I think that's pretty amazing. But also you had the
days of the Pro Foundation. I also already read a lot, continued reading a lot. In those days, a lot about theoretical physics, astrophysics, and also other fields, trying to understand what scientists are about.
Is as an effective way to represent and understand reality as science is also trying to understand reality.
Yeah.
And again, if I put it into my mind how old you were and what you were doing, that's a significant idea.
In all my reading, that all through, especially since 19th century and into the 20th century, you had a lot of artists seriously interested in science, but not to lean on, not to make themselves more important, but to understand what they already were doing themselves. It's not about the theory, it's about the visual delight, the appeal, the impact. And that's a short version. I'm absolutely not opposed to anything on the art market. It exists, it's a reality, it's an important platform for all artists to meet and offer your works and meet other persons. And I learned a lot also in New York, not only to try to promote my own work, but talk to many people, to art dealers, to more on what is art about, actually for me personally, what does art offer other persons?
Cliched stages, you know, the struggle, the virtuoso, and then the maturity.
Yeah.
Do you feel, looking back a little bit, that you are still in that journey, or that you're at the mature stage of that journey?
An answer to that is something the public should give. Taoism is all about nature and the forces of nature and the dynamics. And that's why you also have a lot of art in China which is built on those principles. And these principles you find exactly in the Baroque too. One single country. And if you take art seriously and everything I've mentioned, that art is a great tool or medium between people. And then it's also between people across the border. There's also one checkpoint with several of the speakers who are here about the self, seen from a Western European point, from a Middle Eastern point, and from an Asian point. And in the end, was very interesting. The conclusion was we're not so different. And that these things are very important, I think, in the time we live in.
Reflection and how maybe, particularly in the, let's say, the art fairs, there's a treatment of the public which actually doesn't recognise how important the public is to their art.
The first thing, the foremost thing which Jacqueline and I would like is that we hope that we have offered a lot of new ideas, stimulating your own thoughts. It's not about teaching and preaching our way of looking, but any discussion about art, the main focus of attention should be on the individual viewer. Visual appeal of an artwork decides your own first interest. Curiosity and knowledge follow. Art in your own home contributes to your well-being, to your health. And that's a biological constitution, so our brain and body. is the foundation for experiencing art and also for defining mutual interest between cultures. All of us are the support system for the development of art, which is also a very important point. It's always forgotten that you need the so-called economic factor, and I like to call it the support system because it's more about support than about investment. In the end, it doesn't matter if you are a lawyer, a doctor, a business person, an art historian, a curator, an art dealer, or an artist. We have much in common regarding what art appeals to us in our private lives, what art we like to have around.
And one...
But in many fields, people lost touch with their target audience, either in politics or in professional sports or in many other fields. And the same is in the art world. Whatever you do in life, you have to really think, for whom am I doing it? Not only for peers.
So I think